Hi, and welcome back. Metadata. It surrounds us. It penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together. Well, okay, maybe it's not the Force, but you can do some pretty amazing things if you become a DaVinci Resolve Metadata Jedi. Metadata is information about your media files, and it can be added when you're recording the footage. For instance, in the Blackmagic Camera app, I'll just enter the metadata settings. Here, I can choose the reel, scene, and take number for the next clip I'll be recording. I can also specify whether the clip is an interior or exterior and a day or night shot. And if I swipe left, I can add additional information such as the production name, the camera number, which is always useful on a multi-camera shoot, the director, and even the individual camera operator. If I just record a clip, I can then update the metadata for the next clip, even marking the previous clip as a good take before recording the next clip. So why is this important? Well, when I bring that footage into DaVinci Resolve, all of that information becomes available to me. Here I've got some rushes from Organ Mounted Outfitters that was recorded with the appropriate metadata. And even in the media storage browser, if I go into list view, you can see that I have access to some of that information, including which shots have been marked as good takes. I'll import the footage and create bins. And I'll select all of the bins in order to see all of the clips. With the thumbnails displayed, I can use the sort menu to sort the media pool from clip name to scene, starting timecode, or any of these other options. Switching to list view lets me view and compare the metadata for each clip, sorting the order by simply clicking the column headers. There's also the metadata view, which is a hybrid of the list and thumbnail views, showing the clip thumbnail and the main metadata fields, as well as whether the shot is marked as a good take. This prominent field shows how the media pool is being sorted. Again, the sort menu lets you organize the media pool, which also changes the top metadata field. Okay, so how can you start to use all of this information? Well, to begin with, you can use it to help you find certain clips. Let me select the master bin for this project. Now, clicking the search button and selecting the all bins option allows me to quickly search the whole project based on a clip's file name. For example, searching for Atmos reveals these audio clips which all have Atmos in their file names. I'll just clear that search and change this filter menu to something else. How about scene? Now in the search field, I can type in a specific scene number to reveal all the clips for that specific scene. Okay, I'll clear the search and change the filter, this time to good take. Now, good take is a little different because it's not an alphanumeric field. It's either on or off, or in computer terms, it's 1 or 0. So if I type 1 in the search field, this reveals all my good takes. Typing 0, of course, would show all the takes not currently marked as good, which I guess could be useful in its own right. Hopefully by now you can see the value in making sure all of this information is correct at the time that the footage is shot. However, in reality, that's very rarely the case. So what you might want to do is alter the existing metadata or even add your own. Adjusting or adding metadata is as easy as selecting a clip, and in the File tab in the inspector, selecting the field you want to change. As an example, let me select several clips from the media pool and change their clip color to orange. And I'll select these clips and change their clip color to teal. Sure enough, if I change the search filter to clip color, I can search for the clips with those specific colors. Here are all the orange clips, and here are all the teal clips. Let me clear the search field again, and I'll select these shots, which were all shot on Pine Tree Trail. In the inspector, I'll add a comment to reflect that. Once again, no surprise, I can just change the search filter to comments and begin typing, and voila, there are all the Pine Tree Trail clips. Hopefully you can see how powerful this is in order to be able to find the particular metadata that you're looking for. But another powerful feature is the ability to add keywords. And by adding keywords, you can then make use of the automatic keyword smart bins. There are several ways to add keywords to a clip, but one of the simplest is by using the metadata panel. Now, at first glance, this doesn't look like much, just showing a bunch of technical information about the selected clip. But if I click the Sort menu, there are several categories of metadata I can display. And in Shot and Scene, there's a field for adding keywords. I'll just sort the media pool by scene and select all the interview clips. And I can then add a keyword interview. And here I can select the predefined keyword from the built-in dictionary to ensure I've spelt it correctly. For these clips, I'll add another keyword, B-roll. Now you can see new keyword smart bins have started to be created containing each of those keyworded clips. From the B-roll keyword smart bin, I'll select these clips here and assign another custom keyword, Slot Canyon, to create that smart bin. Once you've got an existing keyword smart bin, you can add other clips to it simply by dragging those clips onto that bin. This will automatically add the keyword to that clip. However, to remove a clip from a keyword bin, you will need to remove the keyword using the metadata panel. There's also the keyword manager that you can use to add up to 9 favorite keywords. This window will let you manage the keyword dictionary too. Once added, your favorite keywords can be quickly applied using the options here in the Mark menu or the appropriate keyboard shortcuts. Now, I use keywords and keyword smart bins quite often because it's a good way of taking your project's organization beyond the use of regular bins. But there are a series of other automatic smart bins that you can use too. Opening the Preferences window, I'll select the User Preferences and then the Editing section. And it's here that I can enable some other automatic smart bins, including one for scene metadata. Just think about this for a second. How useful would this be if all your clips had scene metadata? Sure enough, I'll just save these changes, and instantly I now have a series of smart bins organizing my footage by the scene metadata. Of course, you could also create your own smart bins. From the File menu, I'll just choose to create a new smart bin. Now this window is like the media pool search function, but takes it to the next level. I'll just start by making a simple smart bin to group all my good takes together. These drop-down menus are similar to the search options in the media pool. I'll just change this one to good take, and bingo, there are all my good takes. I'll just save this smart bin, and there it is. Now when I have any other clip marked as a good take, it gets added to the smart bin. And if I deselect the good take box, the clip is removed from the smart bin. There are so many cool things that you can do with smart bins because they're all just based on rules, and you can combine rules in various different ways to filter out the precise clips that you need. I'll modify this good take smart bin by simply right-clicking it and choosing Edit. Instead of just all the good takes, I want to find all the good takes that were shot during the day. So I'll just click this button to add an additional rule. I'll change the first menu to Shot and Scene metadata. This means I'll be able to find the day-night field. And here I'll type in day. And of course, changing the day for night means that I can also find all of the good takes shot at night. Now that smart bin was created using two simple rules, and providing both of those rules matched, then the clip would be available in the smart bin. But you can also choose to use either of those rules or combine those rules in different ways using various subsets. I'll start by creating a new smart bin. This time I want it to be for all good takes, but only from scenes 2 and 3. And I'll start by setting the good take rule to be true. But this time I'll Option or Alt click the button to add a new subset of rules. And for this, I'll want to match any of these following rules. I'll just change this first rule so that it matches scene 2 and add a second rule to match scene 3. Now any good clips from either scene 2 or 3 will be included in this smart bin. Now, one of the problems I think many people have with metadata and working with it is there's just so much of it, it can just seem so overwhelming. And one of the ways that we can work more effectively is to tame the metadata, to just work with the pieces of information that we find most useful. And the way to do that in DaVinci Resolve is to use metadata presets. To create a metadata preset, I'll head back to the user preferences and select the metadata category, and I'll create a new preset. Now I can choose which metadata fields I want exposed in this preset. I'll start by choosing description, keywords, comments, camera number, scene, take, and day and night for good measure. There are also other fields listed in these other groups here, but this will do for now. I'll just need to save my choices to my preset before saving and closing the preferences. And I'm ready to put my metadata preset to use by choosing it from the Metadata panel's Options menu. Now I have just the metadata I'll need at my fingertips. At this point, it's probably worth pointing out that all of the changes to the metadata here don't affect the actual source media file. It just affects the clips within this project. So it's also really important to be able to export and import metadata, particularly if you're working with projects that share the same media. Firstly, you can export the metadata for the whole media pool or for specific clips that you have selected. This will create a CSV text file, which can be opened in any spreadsheet application. Or you can create your own spreadsheet listing just the metadata that you want to add to the clips. Either way, you'll just need to create a CSV file of the information to import back into Resolve. Returning to my Resolve project, I can now choose to import that metadata back to the media pool, and I'll choose the appropriate CSV file. Now in this window, there are several options to choose when matching to the clips in your media pool. I'll just choose to match using the clip's file names. There are also some merge options here, but I'll leave this set to the first option, which will ensure that it will only update the clip's metadata if there's a valid entry for that field in the CSV file, leaving all the other metadata alone. And when I click OK, it matches the information in the CSV file and updates the metadata. I can now check this by selecting clips and using my metadata panel to review the new information. And I can also see all my newly added keyword smart bins based on the keyword information that was in the CSV file. The fact that we can do this is so useful that I use it all of the time, particularly when I need to update the metadata for clips within a particular project. But for power users, the metadata tricks don't end there. For example, you can actually use the metadata within the clips in order to be able to rename those clips within your project. Here, I'll select all the clips that are in the B-roll smart bin. And in the inspector, I'll click in the clip name field. Now, if I just type a name in for these clips, well, they'll all have the same name. That's not exactly helpful. So I'll just clear the name field to revert back to the default file names. Instead, I want to pull information from the clip's metadata. So I'll need to use a variable, which I can do using the percentage symbol. I'll start typing and then select from a list of matching metadata, and in this case I'll choose the comments on the clips. Adding a second variable, I'll choose to use the take number. Clicking away instantly updates the clip names with the appropriate information from the individual clip's metadata. And if you go to the View menu, you can always enable the Show File Names option to show the original file names. Resolve will always use the file name to identify clips when using XMLs and AAFs, as clip names are just one more piece of metadata within your project.